Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Ashika Sharvegar, third year student of Electronics Department. I welcome you all to the second session of VReach. VReach is an alumni engagement initiative of VESIT organized by the Electronics Department under the guidance of Internal Quality Assurance Cell in association with the Institution Innovation Council. It's a series of sessions that we are going to do with our esteemed alumni where they share their knowledge and experience with the students. I'm pleased to introduce our speakers for today's session, Mr. Santosh Sonavne sir and Mr. Saurabh Kanwar sir. On behalf of the Institute, I cordially welcome you both.
Thank you, Ashika.
Thank you, Ashika.
Our today's topic of discussion is how to shape your career. Now I request Dr. T. Rajni Mangla ma'am to give the inaugural address.
Thank you, Ashika. Good afternoon to our esteemed guests, Mr. Santosh Sonavane and Mr. Saurabh Kanwar, our VReach organizers, Dr. Abhay Kshirsagar and Mr. Abhishek Chowdhury, and dear students. VReach is an alumni engagement initiation by our VESET to help our current students to understand the needs and requirements of the industry and the various career options that are available in today's industry. This is the third season of this VReach. We have started in 2021. And each year we have about 15 to 18 engagement sessions conducted by our alumni on various topics and career options that are available for the students. Today's speakers, Mr. Saurabh Kanwar and Mr. Santosh Sonavane, are from the 1995 batch of electronics, and both of them have illustrious careers. So they're excited to share with you many details and tips that will help you to bridge the gap between the industry requirements and the academia. On behalf of Electronics Department, I welcome the speakers for this online session. Also, I would like to thank our speakers in advance for taking out time from their busy schedules to interact with our students. Over to you, Ashika.
Thank you, ma'am. To throw some more light on today's topic, I would like to call upon our first speaker, Mr. Saurabh Kanwar sir. Mr. Saurabh Kanwar sir is the CEO at Commune India, where he is helping build and scale the firm's presence as a key player in India's creator ecosystem. He is an engineer MBA with 25 years of media marketing and content experience, serving in leadership positions at Star, Viacom, Radio City, and Disney. He has delivered pioneering branded content properties like MTV Roadies, He has delivered pioneering branded content properties like MTV Roadies, We Get Gorgeous, and set up the first branded content solution team in Disney's Kids TV global network. Audience is allowed to put up their queries and doubts in the chat box. While the session is on, we will address it at the end of the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ashika. Hi guys, thank you for joining us on this Saturday. I was just thinking if we had to do this in 1995 to be able to listen to some seniors talk, it would have been like a major event production in the hall, calling people in on a Saturday. It would have never happened. So it's lovely that part of the work that engineers do has brought us to this day where we can just sit in our homes comfortably and listen to us old timers. Yeah. So the thing that Abhishek told me that we should be talking about broadly was about in a sense it's about the career paths that people take and generally the one thing that hasn't changed in 25 years is the fact that we all have uncertainties, we all have doubts, and it always seems like Sharmaji's beta or Sharmaji's beti have their whole career planned out, which college, what clothes, which car they will buy, where they will take their holidays, and it just feels like we are unprepared and unplanned for our future. But the truth is closer to our lives than Sharmaji's lives is what I'm here to assure you. And the way I'm going to assure you that you all are going to do fine. So that's the punchline of the entire conversation that I'm going to have with you, which is that everyone will turn out fine is a 99% confidence that I can give you in all cases across, whether even if it's not engineering, if it's some other course, because that's where the world is at. That's where you guys are at from the hard work you've already done and to reach this point in your life. But the rest is there is a little bit of thinking, there's a little bit of design, there's a little bit of choice that you can make. And that choice is available now. It wasn't so available in my time. But I want to tell you that even without me having that choice, and all the mistakes that I made, I picked out some 10 mistakes from all of that from the time I was in college to show you how, despite those mistakes or because of those mistakes, we've actually, I've reached where I needed to reach anyway. So it takes a lot to derail what you have to do, and thanks to, I think, the discipline. Very clearly, we might have had some other comments when we were in college, and Santosh might agree. Uh, but I give a lot of credit to what happened to me as a result of the formative shaping that the 4 years in college did, with the faculty and professors, with the college, with the discipline, with our director at that time who was legendary. So let me just quickly jump into the story of my life. So Ashika was very kind to say some nice, pleasant words. And but when you listen to the introduction, it just, the question to you is like, what has this guy done? Why did he do engineering and finally land up in in this place in front of us in this talk to tell us about what to do after Vesit? And that's hopefully one of the threads that we're going to do. So in the story of Saurabh failing again, let's start with before I joined Vesit, which is we all gave lots of entrance exams. There was no plan to it. There was not even an approach. Abhi kota wota chhod ke, even in within where we were at, we just applied to every single college name that our parents, our friends, our relatives told us, got the form filled and gave an entrance exam, and then made cartoons on the entrance exam paper because we were not even prepared for it, most of us. Now, of course, kids have got much more serious about JEE, etc., etc., and there's a whole different journey there. But we were not part of that journey. And when I came to college, I found out that despite what I thought about myself after failing all entrance exams and coming to Vesit, all my peers were really intelligent people. They were people with marks that were great. They'd done lots of good things in life. So I wasn't alone. I had actually reasonably sensible, stable, very mature people around me in the same state that I was in. And in fact, somewhere around this time, I had also applied to medical college because my dad had said, "Chal kar lete, let's see what happens," because my bio marks were okay. And I got into some last intake of some medical college, and my dad said, "Medicine," and I said, "Dad, I am enjoying myself at Vesit." Literally, these are the words I told him. By that time, I had become the class CR also. So Abhito, I was like I was feeling great about myself by that time. So I didn't leave, and I think that was probably the best thing that had happened to me at that time because it set me up for success. I'm not sure what I would have done had I been in medicine and all the stuff that I've been able to do in my life. I'm very certain that having had I gone and left Vesit and gone somewhere else, that would have not happened. So at least the intake was fine. But even while I was in college, it's not like I was the most diligent student doing the greatest stuff in terms of academics, etc., etc. One of the things that college allowed us was, please, and this is in 1990s, right? The extracurriculars were not that big. Sure, Mood Indigo happened in IIT Bombay, but वो तो IIT वाले हैं ना. But our college, despite what the reputation was for being a very disciplined college, they were very open, very supportive of us taking part in inter-college events and representing the college and being strong in extracurriculars. So I took as much benefit of it as possible, to the extent that half the time I was not seen in class. And Naganand sir would say, where are you? What are you doing? Why are you not in class? But he was also very patient with us at that time. And we were able to do fun things over there also, where we started the Students' Forum for Electronics and lots of exciting things that kind of captured a much larger thing than just the subjects and the books and getting 1 KT in mechanics, etc., which is the rite of passage that we all go through. I don't know if that's still true, but we enjoyed all of that, and to me it made me a bigger, wider, deeper person because I had to go and fight in colleges for our rights. I had to organize my fellow students who are my peers. They were not like my juniors or something, to be able to get outcomes, to be able to reach events in time, to be able to win. All of these things kind of added little bits of DNA, even while I kind of just scraped through with a first class in my acads. And the important lesson that I learned was that ACADS eventually, and I'm again jumping to the punchline, nobody really asked us our marks, whether it's from the 10th standard, 12th standard, or whatever. Sure, there is this 0.5% of employers who will give it some emphasis. But honestly, if you do a bunch of other things in life as a person who's recruiting, as well as a person who's got recruited, I can assure you that the marks are not the only conversation. So because I'd done so much other stuff in this extracurriculars and being part of this students forum for electronics and organizing events in college, outside of college, I was able to have a conversation that was vastly different. Of course, I was also stupid, so everyone was taking up all these lovely companies on campus that we just suddenly over there, they had flowered into giants, TCS and Cognizant and things like that. And I was in my own world saying, no, I'm not really fond of coding and stuff like that. I'll do something else. So that's something else. Obviously, on an engineering campus placement, there are very few choices. So there was this company called Wipro, which at that time was known for making biscuits and vegetable oil. And they had set up a hardware division and a software division, and they were looking for salespeople. And for some reason, the placement guy who had come from Wipro was looking for not just the tech side, but also for the sales side. So I applied to that because I'm weird like that, like in my own bubble and my whole world. And naturally, of course, if you look at it, all the people who are with me, Santosh included, have done superbly for themselves in the world of tech. They've traveled the world. They've got like 170 stamps on their passports. They've worked for the greatest companies. They've got stock options. But the journey that started there in this accidental task of mine of not being fond of coding, etc., took me to the world of marketing, allowed me to actually substantiate. In my MBA interview, I was able to have a much better conversation saying I was always born for sales. Even on engineering, I knew that I was a sales guy. So that really helped me get a good rank in my MBA ultimately, while at that time, my dad was scratching his head, wondering why he had done what he had done, considering coding was so big. Of course, I have jumped the gun on saying MBA. Sure, I got into MBA, but I didn't crack another entrance exam. CAT was tough. I was not, and not disciplined enough to do it. A lot of us don't crack the CAT. And I still keep telling kids that that is not the only option. It wasn't then. And today, for sure, it isn't the only option. In fact, today I would recommend don't do an MBA is actually better advice than do an MBA. Do any other post graduation as long as you're specializing would be my advice from the open world, not just the world of tech. So if that means that if you're not in tech and you're not in coding, what's super specialization? I wish, for example, that I'd done a super specialization in psychology because that A is my interest and B, a lot of my job includes consumer behavior and psychology. So I would have done very well for myself there. But having said that, because I didn't crack the CAT, what happened was I would have been in a cohort that would be super competitive, etc., etc. I got a chance to apply in the CET intake, and I was able to crack that very well. So I played to my strengths over there, and the story that I told you about saying I'm a sales guy by birth, etc. It worked well. I'm not sure if that worked so well in the CAT. So I ended up getting into a college called Bajaj, and again started doing the same things over there. I started organizing events. I started taking part in college festivals. Everything except studying was the habit I was in. So I continued with that habit. But as luck had it, I had some interest in marketing. I had read a lot of my dad's books that were lying around in the house. So while I might not have studied very well because of reading those books, I had some bookish knowledge that I tried to apply and try to think like I'm an expert in marketing. In the first year of an MBA, obviously I was far from it. But somehow I was able to impress the people at Hindustan Lever, as it was called back then. Now it's called Unilever. And Hindustan Lever was supposed to be the best job on campus. Continues to be, of course, in the top 5% of jobs that you can get on campus. So in my summer internship interview, There is one particular story that is close to my heart, and just by sheer dint of being able to repeat it again and again, this thing about the one thing that I know about marketing really well, I was able to bring that into my interview and impress them. And so I got a internship in a place where generally some interns don't get, which is that they don't get brand internships. Generally, you get to be put in sales or research, things like that. But I just because of this, how I created, where that poor interviewer must have thought, wow, if he's talking like that, andar kitna hoga uske andar dum. So I was therefore like seen as one of those, wow, Saurabh got into Unilever for his summers. And I got sent to Bangalore, which was again a very cool city at that time. It was just emerging as the coolest city in the country. And I did my summers in Unilever's around Brook Bond, which was a great brand. Taj Mahal, Three Roses, Brook Bond Red Label. And I hated it. Like what I did there, I could not believe how bored it made me. So there is a particular thing that I'm afflicted with, which I will tell you in a second. But that caused me to, while I was okay with my work, it wasn't very clearly the thing I wanted to do. It became like how coding was on campus. So now I'm stuck because, like, how do I go back and tell people, yeah, sure, I got into Unilever, but that's not what I want to do in my life. This thing is not my career. And I got one in this frustration. I realized that the thing that I really liked was when we were interacting with the ad agency from Unilever. When the brand manager called the ad agency, I was interacting with their work. I decided that that's what I want to do. Which, by the way, back then on campus, saying you don't want Unilever, you want to take advertising was like saying you're a racist. And so if immediately half the crowd in the college would say, "Isko kuch laga hua hai, maybe it's contagious. I don't want to stand next to him." Because who says that you don't want to get into Unilever, you want to do advertising? But this was a mistake that I made, and it definitely helped me. I got into advertising because once you're in Unilever, getting into advertising not that difficult anyway. But advertising is full of problems, and it continues to be. 20 years later, not much has changed. So the one advice I would give you is, please don't join advertising ever as a career option. If someone's trying to do it and you're really passionate, first come and talk to me. Please take my contact from Abhishek. I will have a long chat with you. Then if you're still on that path, I will then have another longer chat with you. But no advertising. The landscape has changed so much that it's worse than when it was in my day 25 years ago. So, and it was full of uh, problems. For example, we were told one salary by HR on campus, and when we actually went, that was not the salary they were giving us. And that wasn't just me; it was like another 100 people that they had hired from people all across campus. So I'm now sitting there saying, what have I done with my career? How do I go home and show them my face? Saying, I took this really gutsy step, and look how it's backfired on me. My career is ended before it has started. पैसे भी नहीं मिलने वाले, and I let go of this Unilever type opportunity. I could have at least had something on my CV. So I started talking to the universe in this frustrated way, saying, I wish the universe would give me my dream job. That would have been great. But of course, I won't get it. You know how we are all bad luck oriented. And so a friend asked me who was in my agency with me. So what is your dream job? You've been going on and on about it. Dream job hai kya? Lekin do you know anything? Ke aise hi, just because you want to get out of the agency. So I said, no, I have a dream job. I watch MTV all day. At that time, MTV was the biggest thing on earth for all of us 20 somethings. It was the greatest brand. Our generation was called the MTV generation. So naturally, I wanted to work there. It was cool. So that's what the person said. You just want to work there because it's cool. And I said, no. I worked in ad agency. I worked in brand. I know I can contribute there. This is it. So she says, Acha, by the way, my cousin is actually in MTV and he was hiring. So should I give your name? And that penny dropped. So when you hear Shah Rukh Khan saying, if you want something with your heart, dilo jaan se mango, Kainat will do its thing. Kainat pretty much did its thing. My HR's chal kapat got me to the dream job that I'd been sitting thinking about in my head. All I did was the frustration with my HR department made me say it out loud so many times that the opportunity almost landed in my lap. And that was probably the best 6 years of my life. It was the most incredible creative team. To this day, the people from that team are all. I am probably the worst performing individual in that team, uh, and I've not done so badly for myself. So all of the people are like superstar level. So it was most amazing growth, ability to do work. One of the things that I got to do was design my own TV shows. Because we used to work for sponsors, right? So one sponsor came to us saying, I don't want to do the usual sponsorship. Humko kuch hatke batao. So that was a bike called Charisma. And we said at that time that there were all these subcultures and communities, and bikers were a thing. So I designed this beautiful in my marketing head, what I thought was an act of marketing genius, this thing that was about bikers going from Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Kashmir. And it would have Hrithik Roshan giving them bikes at the end of it, and these 7 kids. By the way, the picture that you see on screen, that backdrop that you see, that pink backdrop, I'm holding it because it's very windy. So Saurabh Kanwar is actually holding it up, but I'm in the picture, just so you know. Those are the first 7 roadies that emerged. So actually, the show was well liked by the show didn't get ratings in its first year. It was actually, from my show's team point of view, it was a failure. So yet again, Saurabh Kanwar had failed. But the problem was that our client loved it because he couldn't believe that his that show, which had 7 unknown people, did better than an ad which had Hrithik Roshan, who was that time ka Tiger Shroff meets Amitabh Bachchan, right? He was really big at that time, but our show was doing better in selling charismas for the client. So he said, I don't care about you all, but we have to continue the show. And from there on, instead of defining a subculture, the show actually caught everyone's fancy to the point that it became a defining show in the landscape of reality television. So it went beyond my dream of bikers, all of that. It became this tu roti banega ki nahi type of the stuff that you all have seen Raghu and all of those guys do. Which therefore it was not in my hand. That wasn't created by me. But in creating the biking show, we created a menace that has now continued to stay alive to this day. The show is still running. And I apologize for that. It's not my fault. They should kill it. I also agree. But now that it is, it is. But that became sort of a calling card for me, and it allowed me to get into Disney, another dream company that I had, which had just launched. And from Disney, I was able to work my way to the dark side. So if you look at the Star Wars universe, right, you have the Jedi's and the dark side. So MTV was the Jedi's, and Channel V was supposed to be the dark side, the evil guys, because we belonged to a larger corporation called Star Television. And Star Television they let Channel V do its thing for a while. So we were working, doing exciting things. The biggest concerts in the country today, what NH7 Weekender is, we were doing at that time called the Big V concert. We had 30 artists each time in one evening, that kind of thing. So all of the exciting things that I wanted to work on in life quite accidentally just fell into my lap. And I discovered my old love for festivals. Now, continue to this. The mistake that I made in campus by attending college festivals now started serving me well, because clients were more and more asking for campus engagement. They wanted to do campus activities. And I did not know anything about electronic circuits or microprocessors, but I knew a lot about festivals. So there I was selling it. And we created this thing called Nokia V India Fest, first time in the country, etc., etc., and proved success. There was revenue coming in, etc. So I went to my bosses and said, "Sir, see, now I have a great idea. You wanted to see how Channel V could grow, right? Because in our family of Star TV, there was Star Plus, which was like 800-pound gorilla, and Star One, which was like a 600-kilo elephant. And then there was Channel V, which was like a little ant on the side in terms of revenues. So they wanted to grow the viewership, and they wanted to grow the revenues. And I had a great idea. So I pitched it to them saying, we will make Channel V a campus channel. They said, great idea, but we are not going to do it. We want to put soaps on the channel. So I said, Namaste, galti ho gayi, aapse bola main ye. And I failed in that attempt to create this brand, which I loved, into something new. But I told them that if you don't pay attention to this brand, it's going to die, because soaps will not keep it alive. And they looked at me and said, chal. As they should. They were like 20 years my senior. They knew how to run 3,000, 5,000 crore businesses. मैं ये 100 crore का एक channel चला रहा था उस time पे. कौन है तू? But I took that little thing with me about the idea of campus. I put it in my pocket and said, "Nay, festivals have stood me in good stead." I kept it, went and started my own agency. An agency at that time was because social media, Facebook, all of these were becoming big. So naturally, I had no business plan. I had no plan. I just met a colleague from Vesit, my junior actually. We used to travel in the bus together to come to Chembur every day. And we used to talk a lot. For 4 years, Vesit allowed me to build a friendship with a guy who I met once at that time and said, I want to do something over a cup of coffee. And he says, what something? I said, I don't know, but in social media. And over that cup of coffee, he said, Chal karte hain. And he had just got funded for something that he was building. He had left Accenture, raised some money. So he was able to instantly, over one cup of coffee, without a business plan, I was able to start working into building a dream I didn't even have yet, which is I knew I wanted to build some kind of an agency, but what the shape and size of it, it didn't exist in the world. So we had to find that way. Meanwhile, on the way now, this thing that I'm going to tell you, the reason, for example, that coding didn't appeal to me while I was okay at it, but sales did. The reason that I went into Unilever and got bored, I finally figured as I had kids that I was reading about kids के लिए learning difficulties क्या होती है. I started seeing my own life story, and I discovered that I had ADHD, adult attention deficit disorder. So it's called attention deficit, but it comes with this whole executive function, dopamine, all of that. Now you guys know a lot. At that time, nobody knew anything about it. And I was sitting there saying, अच्छा ठीक है, one more, मतलब इसमें भी केटी लग गई, दिमाग में भी एक केटी है. God knows what I'm doing here. And now I want to run my own business with this challenge. But as it turned out, one thing, the diagnosis obviously helped me cope with my life a little bit better as things got harder and harder. But it also helped me to make a team that was very unlike. So after having worked in advertising and cursing them for having ruined the start of my career, right, I had decided that if I make something, it will be vastly different. And because I had this ADHD wala kida, it allowed me to do exactly that. And I had investors who were indulgent in that as well, because they had known me long enough to know that ye seedhe raste to chalne nahi wala hai. So we actually didn't make the regular agency where people come in at 9, leave at 10 p.m. They come in at 9 a.m., work till 10 p.m., work almost 7 days a week, get overstretched. We had people who were at that time on Twitter doing cool things. Today, a lot of them work in Disney, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, and they all also are some of the greatest comedians and writers in the country. So just by sheer dint of me being this ADD person who was always interested in interesting people, I was able to create a very vibrant team, which also produced great work. And in doing that, I found the idea of community. Again, this thing that I was building for myself, I realized that it had power in digital. And whereas the other people were thinking very seriously about technology and the idea of how technology can help social media, how technology can be used as a moat to build a bigger business, I stuck to my whatever interested me because I had ADD. And so that became the filter for me. And what I realized is the thing that was interesting at that time was the idea that I'd formed by making my agency, the idea that you're not there for just the money, you're there for some common shared purpose, a goal, an idea that was called not has now been started to call it community, but that time we didn't know what it was. We used to call it tribes, etc., etc. And we started experimenting with that. And we were able to show our clients and customers, see, if you want to do everyday social media ka jhadu katka bartan, don't please hire me. But if you want to make community, I'm the guy to talk to. And so we made communities for ourselves in art, in music. The music thing became a show on VH1 that ran for 2 years. And similarly, at that time, clients wanted to do things like that. So we were able to earn some money doing that. So in trying to make an agency, I failed to make one, but I made something that was this hybrid that actually set the tone for what work will become 5 years later. And now a lot of these agencies have become that way. In making community, remember the thing that I said on channel we had put in my pocket, that thing about festivals. I realized that the biggest community was sitting right in front of me for the last 20 years, which was the community of college students, you guys going to college festivals, participating. So you all are connected by your college identity, but on a second level, you all are connected by the fact that you all sing and dance very well, or you all play a game, you all do theater very well, or you all have some other extracurricular activity in fine arts. So I was able to sit with my partners and think up of a way to build that well. Just out of again sheer interest, not seeing the business model or the business plan, and saying, I know this is big. I saw in Channel V that my bosses didn't like it, but I really want to do it. So, as a challenge, like an idiot without any strategic intent, we started a community called ATKT, which was it was called ATKT, just so you remember some things that I had. Everyone loved the name, and it was about extracurricular activities on campus, organizing it like the IPL or the BCCI for cultural festivals. Because the one insight that I had while hiring people in my agency, etc., was that many kids come to us without any work experience. But if they've done something in college, and if I ask them questions, and Santosh also was reflecting on that, that this, while they may not have experience, craft, capability, they had this kind of conditioning. They'd done some work for themselves. They were able to talk confidently and display their inner strengths without actually having got work ex. And I was hiring more and more people based on that and being successful with that kind of hiring. So we said there is a direct line to draw, that not only is your degree, a BE, BTech important, or your MBA, but what you've done outside of that is also important to your career. And we decided to build that, and we got funded for it because some other idiots thought we were onto a good thing. We had no technology, we had nothing going for us except one YouTube channel and zero marketing money. And it still became a thing that reached about, at last count, 5 lakh students, 800 colleges. It made money, and we've also built an app. And there my life has come full circle today, where my technology knowledge that I didn't want to do in coding nahi karna hai bhai, I had to sit and make an app for myself. And because of the knowledge that Vesit had given me, I was able to do it slightly better than I would have otherwise done as a general MBA. So today the only hiccup in my plan has been lockdown, but the lockdown has allowed me again, by not funding for, by thinking that the lockdown would last for 6 months. It lasted for a little bit more than that, as you guys remember. I was able to drive my working capital to zero, which means I couldn't run my company. But because of that, I started reaching out to people, and I met a gentleman called Roshan Abbas, who some of you might have heard of. He's a media personality, and he's built businesses, he's built and sold agencies and companies, and he was doing exactly the same thing with his team that I was. So if I had not run out of money, I have a feeling I would have never met him. But because I started looking, he said, "Acha chal saath mein karte hain." So now I have a giant working for this little dream I've had since 1995. K festivals should be bigger than they are. And here I am in front of you, humble bragging and calling it failure. I agree. You can say that. But it's not a humble brag. It's genuinely a life without plan bringing me to this point where I feel satisfied that these are the things I would like to achieve. Then the make of car and those things were not important to me. Had they been important to me, I would have thought slightly differently. I might have executed differently. But the biggest takeout for me in all of this is that entrepreneurship is here to stay for all of us. You guys, I can see, I've heard a lot from Rajni ma'am also, that how y'all are dabbling in entrepreneurship and taking those steps. I think that's fantastic. More power to you. But the people who feel like they don't want to do it, I feel like there's no wrong answer. It's okay to start working in a company and making a way through that career journey versus starting your own. Both are fine. Some people say you should not start your business too late. Listen, I had 2 kids and a home loan when I started my business. I'm still alive. It couldn't have been a worse time to have taken that decision. Also, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. I started my business in 2008. That was the worst economic depression in our living history. Must have been the worst time to start a business, but I started at that time. So I'm still here. So despite all of these genuine mistakes, I feel things come out is probably my lesson. I don't have any much more strategic insight to offer. I think Santosh is the expert on that. So I'll take your leave, and I'll look forward to your questions in challenging my humble bragging at the end of the session. Thanks so much, guys.
That was wonderful, sir. So now I would like to call upon our second speaker, Mr. Santosh Sonavne sir, to further enlighten us. Mr. Santosh Sonavne sir has a professional experience of over 24 years in IT, with 20 years in business application. He has gained experience in the fields like pre-sales, delivery management, CRM techno-functional, and web technologies. Also, he has successfully managed practice building for Sibel, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics 365, including training and recruitment for the last 17 years. He is currently leading Dynamics 365 pre-sales and competence for Atos Global Microsoft practice. Over to you, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, I never felt that, Saurabh should stop talking, and I always wanted him to kind of continue because I think the kind of experience that he has, I'm really kind of admiring that, frankly speaking. And it's really great to be a part of the batch where Saurav was also there. Frankly speaking, he's the guy who's actually kind of motivated us and brought us from that our comfort zone and kind of ensure that we take participations in some or the other way into the festivals. Okay, so that has actually kind of helped me kind of improve on my singing hobby and to kind of improve on my there used to be quizzes around the Hollywood subjects, okay? And then in 1993 and 94, whatever Saurav has done as a cultural secretary has changed my life, okay? And I'm kind of gaining out of those experiences still now. Okay, so thanks, Saurav. Actually, I think you have made an impact to all of us. Great.
Thank you, yeah, Santosh. That's too kind of you. Thanks.
Okay, so I'll kind of briefly talk about my overall experience. I kind of spent good amount of time in customer relationship management. What does it mean? I'll kind of talk about it in a short while. Okay, so first of all, thanks to Veerish team, the entire visit team, and all the audience. I really appreciate actually you're taking time out of your busy schedule, studies, and kind of waiting here to kind of hear whatever kind of I have experience of. Okay, so before starting, so if you ask me, actually, I mean, based on my 26 years of experience in the industry, Vivekanand, okay, so Visit has kind of a very, it carries a good or an excellent kind of impression. I mean, it builds when you actually talk to people that you're from Basic. Okay, when I talk to CXOs or talk to kind of getting interviewed by people at a senior level, the moment I speak, I'm from Basic, I think the 50% of the battle is already won. So good that I think for you guys, I think since you're already part of this esteemed organizations, I think you're really there. Okay, so that's the best part about Visit. Okay, so coming back to what I've done till date. So customer relationship management, okay. So any business that we are kind of running, right? I mean, generally, first part is actually try to find out who are the potential customers. So when you visit a mall, right, you immediately kind of getting caught by some sales lady who's kind of selling credit cards, right? And she tries to get your phone number or email ID and name, right? What she's doing, she's trying to kind of create a database wherein people from sales team can reach out and figure it out whether you will be interested in that product or not. Okay, so something similar you might have seen when you're in Instagram or on Facebook, you or any other channel, right? I mean, you're kind of receiving some pop-ups stating that are you interested in this, whether it's a smartwatch, whether it is a banking credit card or insurance product, right? So that's all about campaigns. Okay, so it's about marketing. So I think Saurav done a good amount of job here, and I think he might talk about it a little more than that. But in brief, those are the campaigns which are run on different channels, and in order to kind of attract more customers. So people actually try to kind of get good amount of information from those channels and try to gather the targeted customers. Okay, so after kind of getting this information, you will get a call from if you are sharing that information through different channels, and if you are really interested, you will immediately get a call from an individual who would like to kind of meet you, talk about the product, talk about the offers, talk about the discounts, and he will try to share more information about the services of the product that they are selling. So what does it mean? So it is actually sales. Okay, so it's kind of a so the information that you are kind of receiving from all these channels is called leads. Okay, and the journey through which actually they try to kind of inform and try to convince you to buy their products or services, it's called opportunities. Once you are kind of very much kind of decided on buying that product, so you actually kind of get some quotes and kind of you finalize on those quotes and kind of get an order, right? And then end of it is actually invoicing part. Fine, I think you are kind of convinced that you have bought that product. Obviously, it doesn't stop there, right? So there could be some query or complaint or an issue that you might have with that product or services that you're kind of your purchase, right? So ultimately, there should be a channel through which you can kind of put your complaints. So you could find some website or some mobile number or a call center number where you can actually log the tickets, right? And there is a separate process of kind of managing those tickets to ensure that it's getting resolved and there is a customer satisfaction to that, right? So ultimately, in this entire journey, what we are trying to do is actually we are trying to kind of capture a customer and try to ensure him that he not only buys your product but stays with you for long. So this entire functioning is called customer relationship management. This is part of a business application that is really kind of important for any business you do, right? Whether it is small, medium, or big. Ultimately, this is your bread and butter. So I spent most of my life in understanding the sales strategy or the marketing strategy or the service strategy for companies across the globe. There are companies in pharma, automotive, consumer goods, finance, banks, okay, globally. And best part is actually my career. I started as a coder, but ultimately, end of the day, whatever knowledge that I've gained or whatever experience that I've gained, I'm end up utilizing it for real sense, right? So business is actually getting help from it. So this is the best part about CRM. Okay. So next is actually what are the different roles that will be there. Okay. So to start with, when somebody who's into sales, okay, managing sales or marketing or service, right? They are kind of a business SME who are managing their day-to-day task. But ultimately, you need a channel or a tool, right, to record all this information to ensure that things are really visible to sales guys or to service guys or to marketing guy to record the information, to act on it, to have some flows defined so that that can be really utilized in fastest manner for getting customer satisfaction. So when these applications are getting built, you need to, so one need to know about customer business as well as the product on which you are working. So I'll talk about the product part first. Ultimately, wherever you go, right, most of the time the sales service marketing functions remain same. So every time, rather than kind of building a .NET application from scratch, it's like Microsoft kind of product features kind of captured. And hello, you're able to hear me, right?
Just one lag, sir.
Okay.
It's fine now.
It's fine now. Okay, excellent, good. So as a functional guy, you need to understand what customers' requirements are and trying to map those customer requirements with the product that you are proposing. So that's called fit gap analysis. So this role is for someone who is actually really interested in beyond coding, somebody who wants to be in understand the business part or the functions part and try to map and having a good analytical skill who can actually kind of work closely with the customers and try to map their requirements with the products. Okay. Then there comes the technical role. In the technical role, ultimately the functional guy will come up with the functional requirements, right? So, as you know, right? I mean, if you are building WhatsApp, right? The point they might have started. Okay, let's have a icon. If you click on that icon, you should put in your user ID password, and then post that. You should be kind of having a place from where you can start chart. You can from where you can add uh, connect contacts, right? And from where you can actually start chatting with someone and responding to those chats, right? So ultimately, those are kind of a functional requirements. How do I kind of make it work as an app? So this is the time when the technical role comes in picture. So ultimately, for each of those products or platforms, there is a underlying development environment wherein you need to understand the functional aspect of the story and try to convert that in technical language by building some workflows or writing some code. Okay. So this is the place where you will land if you are having a good technical acumen. The last part is testing. Ultimately, functional has written the scope, okay, and technical has done the coding. Now the application is ready. But ultimately, if it is not working, before you kind of share it with the customer, you need to really check whether it's really working or not. So this is the place where the testing role comes in picture. So in testing, the code part is actually you don't have to really know coding. It's all about your acumen to understand the business part of the story. At the same time, you have that quizzing mentality wherein you can actually do more due diligence to ensure that it breaks. Okay, and वो कीड़ा होना चाहिए आपने. So ultimately, this is the place where you can actually write functional test cases, test it. If it is getting failed, pass it on to the developer, get it fixed, and then the functional guy will retest and then he will release it to production. The last role that comes in here is the system admin role, wherein in order to kind of have this entire application running, you need people who understands it from the infrastructure point of view. So this is another interesting role wherein you need to be it's more challenging role because in order to manage the live instances, you need to understand the technical as well as the functional aspect of the story, okay? And at the same time, you can interact with the product vendor, those kind of product, like the likes of Microsoft, Google, and the Salesforce. So this is at a broad level the roles that are involved. So there are different buzzwords that are there: artificial intelligence, machine learning, digital transformation. So just keep it, ensure that you are kind of looking into these buzzwords because these are really important nowadays. And the low code, no code, cloud first approach, blockchain. So these are all actually is something that awareness is really important at your level. This is really changing post Corona. This is really changing the entire IT landscape of all the businesses that around the world. So, and the best part here is actually you don't have to be really a coder. Okay, the low code no code is more about the IT landscape is more moving towards English language like programming or more like drag and drop like coding, right? So wherein they don't have to really put more emphasis on having a lot of coders behind and kind of it becomes very difficult to maintain the application. So this is actually really kind of changing the entire IT landscape. Okay, so to kind of end my slide, it's very heavy slide. So whatever I learned from my experiences, I think you already heard from what Saurav stated. Okay, so end of the day, दुनिया में रहना है तो काम कर प्यारे, ओके, हाथ जोड़ सबको सलाम कर प्यारे, वरना ये दुनिया जीने नहीं देगी, खाने नहीं देगी, पीने नहीं देगी, खेल कोई नया सुबह शाम कर प्यारे. Okay, so ultimately I think wherever you go, whatever role you're doing, whether you're a student or a professor or a corporate job or an entrepreneur, this is the key. Okay, ultimately the last sentence is more important. Saurav has tried to explain you in same fashion that how he moved from Unilever to MTV or Channel V or and starting his new entrepreneurship, right? I mean, this is something is the expectation from the world, right? And it's not too difficult. Just keep on working on whatever you're doing, and you will enjoy the show. Okay. So with that, I want to end my session. So stay healthy, stay safe, stay connected. Thanks. Over to you, guys.
Very informative, sir. There are some
Thanks.
questions by the audience. I would like to put it before you.
Please go ahead.
So, what advice you would give an electronics engineer to get into an IT field?
Saurabh, you want to take it or you want me to take it?
You're the expert in that.
Okay, good. So electronics. So ultimately, as long as IT field goes in, okay, there are no boundaries. Okay, so what I found is actually people from mechanical, civil, pharma background getting into IT. What is important for you to know is what are the requirement of the industry, right? And to understand what is there in you for what are the skills that you're having for getting into IT. So ultimately, as I told you, there are functional jobs, technical jobs, testing jobs, right, or admin jobs. So ultimately, you need to ensure that you're in line with all those requirements. Stick to what you are doing currently. And me being kind of a recruiter for last 18 years through companies like Accenture or likes of Cognizant and EY, what I found is actually people are expected to be sincere with what they are doing, right, and whatever they're presenting in their resumes. That is first part. The second important part is your attitude, and third important part is your aptitude. And in this journey, whatever Saurav talked about, right, the extracurricular activities are making a lot of difference here. They don't want a studious guy. Are you kind of there work? Are you a team player? Have you or have you been part of any organizing committee? Are you part of any sports? All those aspects are really important. So ultimately, ensure that in electronics, whatever you are doing, you are kind of giving your 100%. Rest, those companies will do. Okay, getting you trained and getting into relevant field. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So now the question is for Saurabh, sir. After so many failures, how did you motivate yourself?
Actually, I don't think failure is a demotivator. I mean, there are times when you've lost a big deal or something like that, and it kind of depresses you. But if you're doing the work you're doing, right, there is an innate quality that humans have, which is we're stupid. We go back again and again to do that, and stupid in a good way. Which is that we like to do those things again. The more challenging it is, the more exciting it becomes for us if we really want to achieve it. So in most cases, I don't feel there is that required. But I will add that there are difficult times in all work, in all jobs. My joy personally came from the team I worked with. So going back to them and working and immersing myself with them, and just, even just socializing would recharge our batteries. Because if you work with the right kind of people, that automatically becomes a very virtuous cycle of feeding onto each other's energies. And more than anything else, I think that gives me joy. Another one that I feel is underlooked up until now, and thankfully the lockdown has changed that behavior, is recreational. Go out and do something else, completely different. The lockdown taught me that I can bake without killing people. I mean, people eat my food and still don't die and all that. But the joy that it brings me, I get better at it. Other people I know around me who do that personally, things like fitness work for them, etc., etc. So I think everyone has something, but with other people, I think the cycle is virtuous. What's your experience, Santosh?
Yeah. So now the question is for Santosh sir. How hard it is to change your role in a company, say going from data analytics to consulting or more client-based role?
Good question. So, end of the day, I think Saurav has talked about, right? I think he moved from advertising to entertainment industry, right? It is the same way. Frankly speaking, end of the day, if you are able to perform at that level and you know where your strengths are, so ultimately, I think it's all about wait and watch. You'll have to keep on preparing yourself for that, and it's not that difficult. Okay, so you'll have to kind of work on it, build some credentials around it, get certified, and prove that yes, you're capable of doing that. And there are a lot of instances wherein people from IT moved into functional side or into managerial side or into project management side. It's not that tough. Okay, so it's very much feasible. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to add that a lot of my colleagues in creative services, people who are great writers, great production people, a lot of them come from engineering, as our stand-up comics love to say. Rahul Subramaniam is a product of Veset only. So I think engineering allows that
Yeah.
escape into any field. One part of the innate, whether it's the genetic makeup or the way we are taught, is that ability to transfer. So at a broad level, I would say I don't think any field is a challenge. If we can go out to all those fields, then within the finer points of tech, I think that should not be too challenging. I think that Santosh's advice is 100%. The wait and watch for the right ball to hit is really where the
And the best part about engineering is, I think most of the folks might not be kind of liking the digital processing part of it or logic circuit part of it, right? It's not about only studying that part. 6 months, 6 subjects. You need to attend lectures. You need to attend labs. You need to kind of work on your what do you call it? Forgot that word. So I think the lab reports and all, right? And you need to
submissions
work on the
and
submissions,
journals.
right? Journals, and then viva, right? What does it mean? So it is actually preparing you for the next phase. Okay, so it is building an approach in you that you need to be being an engineer. You need to be kind of ready for anything to come. Okay, and ready to think during difficult times and ready to act during difficult times, and that is the beauty about engineering. Okay, so as Saurav stated, yes, everything is feasible, and good part you are already on that journey. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Another question is for Saurabh, sir. You were so much into fest during your college days. How did you manage your attendance criteria and academics simultaneously?
If it weren't for the last minute, no, nothing would get done on earth. Forget my submissions. So it's also it's an ADHD trait, but like we'll do 30 minutes of work in 8 hours, and then for 8 hours of work in 30 minutes. And engineering makes you good at that. I think you guys are better at it than we are in multitasking. हमारे टाइम में OTT वगैरह भी नहीं था. So अभी तो you have to watch an OTT पे you're watching a show and you're doing a journal work and you're doing many other things at the same time and chatting with your friends. So you guys are better at it, I think. हम तो amateurs थे. But I have said this before and I'll say it again. There's a reputation that Vivekanand had earlier, that it was very strict, and nothing could have been further from the truth because they allowed us to. They actually encouraged us. So there's this one incident I remember where I was called to the director's office. So I said, "Lag gayi, aaj to kuch kiya hai maine." Obviously, when bulawa aata hai, you've done something. So madam is asking me, "There is this college festival. Why have we not applied for that?" I'm like, "Ma'am, I thought मेरे को जूते पड़ने वाले थे." So they were that encouraging,
Yeah.
saying that make sure that everyone's there and take the time for it, and then attendance would be given for that. But गलत कामों के लिए नहीं देते थे. That was
Actually,
there. Obviously.
correct.
So it's up to I think credit to the college 80% would be the answer. The rest is last minute.
Thank you, sir. We would request everyone to fill the attendance and the feedback form that has been sent in the chat box. So, on behalf of my team, I would like to express my gratitude to the speakers, professors, and the students of this session for their presence and contribution to make this session a success. I extend my gratitude to our honorable alumni, Mr. Santosh Sonavne sir and Mr. Saurabh Kanwar sir, for giving us their valuable time and showing such wonderful insights on our today's topic. We thank you for your inspiring and encouraging us with your words today. Thank you everyone for your active participation.